Welcome to Backstage with Becca with special guest Patrick Ortiz. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca. On this episode, he made his Broadway debut on West Side Story, was in Mamma Mia on Broadway, went on tour with both West Side Story and We Will Rock You, and has performed on both land and sea with For the Record Live. Please welcome Patrick Ortiz.
Hey, Becca, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Given current circumstances, of course, but...
Right, exactly, but all's good. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm in Texas right now. I've been here for a couple months and got this interview series, planned it out while I've been here, so.
Sweet. Awesome. Good for you. You got to keep going. Keep creating.
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
Keep theater conversations going because
exactly.
You'll miss it.
Yes, very much so.
So, have you been doing anything to keep sane during this time, or?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've gone through so many different levels of Patrick in quarantine. You know what I mean? Like I go through the evolution and then it starts its cycle over again.
Yeah.
So I've been, trying to stay active, and I've been working on like new musicals and Zoom readings, and been trying to stay fit as much as I can with the gyms closed, and yeah.
It's challenging. It's like a lot of walking outside, and it's like, oh, why didn't I do this like before?
Right, yeah, I'm like, oh, there's all these parks around me. There's all this outside activity that I never took advantage of, so.
Because the gyms.
Right, exactly,
yeah.
So I've been trying to stay active and, be productive as much as I can.
Same. It's a work in progress, and it's like some days you need your breaks, and some days, and
yes.
It's all a lot.
Right, exactly. It's all about balance.
Yeah, all about balance. Well, anyways, I'll get started on the theater conversation.
Perfect.
So have you always known that you wanted to be an actor and performer?
I always knew that I loved the arts. I didn't know how I was going to fit into that puzzle piece per se my entire life. I didn't start considering theater or performing as a career until I started college. So
really?
Yeah, so it was a discovery that I made later in my youth. The majority of my times I spent growing up, I spent focused on sports and academics. I was huge into science and math. I did Mathletes, the competition math team. I did science field day competitions, and I played soccer for 16 years, competitively and traveling. So yeah, wow. I was a late bloomer when it comes to theater.
Did you think you'd be going into like a soccer career instead of an acting career?
I was considering going to college for soccer and majoring in biology with an emphasis in zoology, because animal behavior is, I'm obsessed with it. That's all I watch is Discovery Channel and stuff like that, documentaries.
Yes.
So yeah, and then I decided that this dance and singing and acting is something that I am going to do whether or not I get paid. So why don't I give it a shot at making a career out of it? So, yeah.
When did you discover that you could sing?
I think when the first time someone told me that I was good, I feel because I've always been singing, but no one ever told me I was good until probably around when I was 15 or 16, and I was auditioning for some community theater, and I got a call back, and I was like, what? They want me to sing a solo? Because I was used to doing chorus parts. And I got a call back, and the director pulled me aside. He's like, you have a really good voice. You really need to cultivate it and take voice lessons. And And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. I was like, cool.
Yes. What was the first theater show you were in, speaking of getting into auditioning for shows?
Oh gosh, the first show I was in, I think it was probably Seussical the Musical in high school. and
Yes.
I and I played Horton the Elephant.
Love it. Love it.
Which was such a fun role and character, and that musical is so like whimsical. So it was a fun introduction to music. But actually, my family was, even though none of them were musicians or actors, they had a love for the arts. And my mom was, yeah, and my mom was obsessed with West Side Story and like the old time musicals. So she used to play them for us when we were kids, and we didn't understand what was happening. We were just excited with all the music. So I grew up with musicals in the household, but didn't really take it seriously until later. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
I'm gonna ask about West Side Story more later, because you've done two productions of it, or bit. I mean, you were on tour for it, right?
I think I've done, so I think I've done four or five productions of West Side Story at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a huge chunk of my life for I think 3 years, and I was just jumping around, but again,
all the roles. You're like,
yes,
I have to cross off all the roles before I can quit saying yes to the show.
Exactly. Anita's still left. I still have to play Anita.
Yes.
She's the last one.
Yeah. So how did you get into musical theater? Like, how did you have success with getting into musical theater in college, since like you got a little later start in it than most people, I feel like, do?
Yeah, to be honest, it was extremely intimidating because I was being auditioning and against kids who have been doing this since they were like 7 or 8, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I just started yesterday, let's give it a try. But if anything, that being thrown into that environment with little experience, taught me at an early beginning to not compare myself to anyone else, and that the real competition is within myself. Am I able to walk into the room and feel like I presented a good job with my song, you know what I mean? Or I did good work today, that is the real contest. Because the second you allow yourself in those thoughts of, oh, well, they sang this note higher than me, or, oh, well, they did this and they can sing this song, then it's just like a losing battle, So yeah. So yeah, it was hard at first, but it taught me a very good lesson early off. So
any performers are tough on yourself. So it's like,
yes,
the enemy really is within.
yes. And because that, you need to love yourself. You need to give yourself a break. Like, we're doing a lot as performers, so it's important to find that balance and be, critical of yourself and, okay, what can I fix? What can I work on? Yeah. But then also be like, I nailed this and I did this right and this was good, It's healthy to have a balance of good and constructive.
Give yourself positive reinforcement.
Yes, exactly.
And award yourself when you do good.
Yes. Yeah, eat a cookie. Why not?
Yeah. And where did you go to school in college, and what was your most valuable takeaway from college life?
Oh yeah. I wasn't certain, like I said, that I was going to make this my career. So I joined towards the end of my freshman year, State-Fullerton. And and I did their BFA program. It's a cut program. And it basically, your first 2 years, freshman and sophomore, you spend auditioning to get into the BFA. And the class starts from around ours started at 130. And then over 2 years, it gets narrowed down to around 10 to 12 people. And then that's the BFA, the final BFA, those 10 for the next 2 years. So those first 2 years is a grueling experience because after every semester, they make a cut of 20 people or 10 people. And if you're cut from the program, you have to switch majors, which is a little, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a little devastating, to be frank. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of a little bit like what the business is like. You know, it is a little cutthroat and a little harsh, like, sorry, not this time, gotta move on, keep going. So yeah, and the school was great. It had great teachers. The acting teachers were absolutely incredible there, and that was something that I still hold on to, was my acting experiences there, and the technique that we learned from Stanislavski and Meisner and all that stuff. I still utilize today, like when I go into auditions and prepare for a character. So yeah, it was a great experience. But at the end of my junior year at Cal State, I was invited to be recalled back in for West Side, and I booked it at the end of my junior year. So I didn't end up completing my senior year. Yeah, because
that's understandable.
Yeah. So yeah, I went straight from Cal State to Broadway and started West Side. I think I was 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's young.
It was young.
Pretty darn young.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize it at the time, but now I look back and I was like, geez, that was a lot for a 20-year-old. But it's okay. I got through it, and it was one of the best moments of my life, to be honest.
I mean, there's kid actors, but like still a lot of people don't make Broadway debuts if they're not like a kid actor till they're in like maybe mid like 20s.
Yeah. So I was super grateful, and I'm still so grateful for that huge opportunity.
So that was your Broadway debut?
Yeah, that was my Broadway debut.
Do you remember the audition experience for that?
Yes, I do actually. My first audition was when I was I think it was 18. I was 18 years old, and I auditioned in Los Angeles and I was living in San Diego, where I grew up. And my friend invited me, and he was like, hey, I'm auditioning for the revival of West Side on Broadway. You should come. And I was like, yes, not because I wanted to book it, only because I was excited because I really wanted to learn the original choreography. So I was like, I don't care if I book it. I just want to learn the choreo and then like peace out. And I think it was like that kind of energy and mentality that made me go so far in the process.
Probably.
So anyway, so I went and I made it to the final cut that day. They asked me to come back the next day, and then I came back, danced again, and then they flew me to New York, and I made it down to the final like 20. I was going in for one of the sharks, and I didn't get it that time. And that's okay. They cut me, and my mom was waiting outside the studio. It was like so dramatic. She flew with me. She's old Puerto Rican lady. She flew with me, and I like walked out of the studio. I was like, Madre, I didn't get it. She's like, ay, mijito, it's okay, you know, like it's fine. And it was fine, you know, and now in hindsight, I am so grateful I didn't get it then, because I wasn't ready. Like I still needed to go to college and to get 3 years of solid training. And that's what I did. And then 3 years later, the casting director, Paul Hart, he called me and he's like, hey, we're looking to have a replacement. I said, great, I'll come out. And he was like, okay, great. Went out there and then I booked it. So I know you hear this a lot in this industry, but it's all about the right time. It's all about timing. So
it's like so much would have been different if you had gotten it then versus when you
right. If I would have booked, you know, my Broadway debut at 18 years old, you know, I wasn't, you know, a well-rounded, grounded performer. I wasn't, you know, so I'm grateful that it came at the time when it did.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you talked about choreography. So when did you start like getting dance experience? Because you obviously have dance experience.
Yeah. So I actually started in college when I started the musical theater BFA. And I picked it up very, very quickly. Like, my dance teachers were impressed with having zero dance experience at how quickly I was picking it up.
Wow.
And I honestly attribute it to my huge athletic background, playing soccer and running and tennis. All that agility is, incorporated in dance for sure. I mean, dance is a extreme sport. Like, those are like some of the top athletes, in the world. So I was able to adapt and pick it up really quickly. It's hard though, because I didn't have ballet training, so I'm not the most technical dancer, but I have confidence in delivering a performance, and being grounded, and that's what I have to offer. So yeah.
It's interesting that you say that sports help, because I feel like I watch a lot of Dancing with the Stars, and I feel like on Dancing with the Stars, anyone who has like a background in like football and I mean, maybe not always basketball, but anyone who has a background in any of those sports always have, like, they're able to pick up
they have an understanding of dancing, because when you think about it, in sports, doing like wind sprints, you're changing direction quickly. It's all about being on your toes and where your center of gravity is, and that's exactly what dance is. So it makes sense that athletes and dancers can interchange pretty easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so going back to West Side Story, what was your experience like being on Broadway for the first time versus like being in that show versus the being in it later?
Yeah.
Because you've done it now, as you mentioned, like 4 more times. Right.
Yeah. Obviously there's just like an unawareness and a maturity that that kind of just happens with age, and you just get how it's run. It was really scary at first, because you're thrown into like a big pot of extremely talented people with their own agendas and their own ways of performing and stuff like that. So it was a little intimidating. Like, I definitely had to like grow some thick skin. But it's good, because you pick up little like tricks and tidbits of how to navigate through like an 8-show week and stuff like that, because once you book the job, it's another job to figure out how to make it last for a year. Because you don't think about that in the audition, that, oh, I'm gonna have to do this 8 times a week. And so you have to learn how to like balance out your show. Like, one of my friends taught me, he's like, it'd be a good exercise or warm up to do the choreography reversed. So that way you're not favoring just like your right side, because you're always kicking your right side on this side. It's good to do the left side, so your muscles are balanced, your body's balanced, you're not favoring and you don't become a lopsided dancer. So like things like that,
And it helps strengthen muscles for less injury, maybe, because
endurance. Yes, exactly. And also taking care of your body. Like, I wasn't aware of how important cool downs are. They're just as important as warm-ups, It's like, if you really want to make this a career, you have to take care of your tool in this career, and your body is your tool. So that means warming up, hydrating, cooling down, getting massages, going to PT. Like, this is our bread and butter right here. So you got to take care of it.
and you got to take care of the voice.
Of the voice too. Yep. Yes, exactly. Knowing, okay, I have to record, so I got to stay in, or vocal rest or stuff like that,
Yeah. Do you remember the day you made your Broadway debut?
The day, actually, I think it was 10 years ago.
Wow.
This year, 10 years ago, it was in, I think, June of 2010.
Oh,
so
so pretty much a little over 10 years.
Yeah, so I just had the 10-year anniversary, which makes me feel so old, but but I started young, so there's that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how special. Did
I
like people come
know.
out and get to see you in it and when you made
Yeah,
your Broadway debut?
yeah, I was so lucky. I'm full Latino, I'm Mexican Puerto Rican, and I was fortunate to have 22 of my cousins, aunts, uncles, my tita, everyone flew out, and I had all of them at the stage door and in the audience. It was so epic and so special because like we are a Puerto Rican family, so I felt so much pride, playing in West Side Story on Broadway and having them see me like represent our culture and our family. It was really special.
You had your own cheering section.
I did, man. I did. That's what you get when you're Latino. You get your
Yeah.
built-in cheerleaders.
And I kind of have to ask, based on that, you were talking about doing 8 shows a week, and I was talking to someone earlier this week who's been in the same show for like 5 years, and
Right.
I have to ask, how do you make going to work exciting for a year straight, 8 shows a week?
Yeah, it's hard to not like be a machine and get stuck in a rut of like the same choice. So I mean, I love like switching up choices as long as it's within like the realm of like being respectful of the actor and the work and the director. But like I love like making choices that will like kind of catch the actor off guard, but like in a good way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keeping it fresh and yeah, or what else are some fun ways that I keep it fresh? I don't know. I can't think of any other ways, but I have a bunch of, and sometimes, like trying like, no, I don't know. I can't think of anything else.
Well, it's like you probably brought yourself kind of into the characters you played at times too.
Yes, that's what I was going to go off of. A fun exercise is like figuring out as an actor, like what I can bring in from my real life of the day. Like what emotions from my real life can I bring in and what do I have to leave at the door? Because you can't bring everything into your work on stage. You know what I mean? Because then it doesn't make sense or align. But some things you can, like if they align correctly within the scene work, then that's a fun exercise to do, to be like, I'm really pissed off because blah, 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 blah. And then how can I use this in the show?
Yeah, and then it makes things different for every audience too. So it's fun for like, you get the repeat audiences in theater.
And they notice the subtleties and the differences.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's like tiny or something that's like that, I don't know, like someone changes up how they say a whole line or something.
Right.
They notice everything.
Right. Yeah. And then it's super fun for us as like the performers when people like you notice it. You're like, oh my gosh, this totally happened tonight, and I noticed it, and then we get excited about it. So super
oh my
fun.
God, I get so excited when I notice something that's different in a theater show.
Right, exactly. It's super fun.
What character in West Side Story has been your favorite to play?
Oh, I think it would have to be Chino.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why?
I had the opportunity to play him on Broadway, and he's such like an off the radar character, and he's so subtle and quiet that you don't really notice him, but it's such a vital part to the show. And I think because he's so quiet that a lot of times he's often overlooked and played that way. And I'm like, no, I think it's so incredible for this. He's the youngest boy of the Sharks. And, he's very polite, Catholic, religious, quiet, very proper, gonna marry Maria and Bernardo wants him to marry Maria because he's the good boy. He's gonna take care of her, he's gonna be respectful. And for him, this character to go from that, and then his arc goes to he kills Tony, to a killer, like that's a huge meaty character. Like that is so like epic, you know? And I feel like no one really paid attention to that huge shift. And I had the opportunity to work with Arthur Lawrence, who wrote West Side Story. He was our director on Broadway at 93 years old. It was his final project that he worked on before he passed. And he explained that to me. He's like, it's so important, this shift, the scene between Maria and Chino, that we see him go from the sweet innocence, and we see all that innocence just leave him, and he turns into a killer. And he's like, that is like what the message of West Side Story is all these innocent kids turning into these killers. And it's the tragedy that needs to be told, you know, of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Chino for me.
And then you got to do it with 5-Star Theatricals, which I got to see you in.
Yes, and I played Bernardo.
Yeah. So
right.
what is playing him like versus playing Chino?
Oh, I love it. I love it because Bernardo gets all the freedom in the world because he's in charge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's wild, he's ambitious, he's authoritative, and he's strong, but a fun like aspect that I like to highlight about him is that he's often looked at as the bad guy. And I'm like, he's not the bad guy. He is not. He came to America to make money for his family and protect his family and then move back. And then there's nothing bad about that. You know what I mean? So I tried to bring the humanity and the make him more relatable to the audience, you know, that he's an older brother. He's a best friend. He's a leader. He's all these really good positive things. And I wanted to convey that to the audience so they would be on his side and not, you know, look at him so much as a bad guy.
And also 5-Star Theatricals. That was my first 5-Star Theatrical show to actually see, I think.
Right.
And it's so much like Broadway, like those
shows.
Dude,
they turn it out. It was my first experience ever working with them or seeing a show from them. And they do incredible productions and they get amazing talent from LA. Yeah, they're an incredible regional theater, especially on the West Coast.
Yeah. I was impressed in the sets, everything.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully they'll reopen soon and they'll be doing shows again.
Yeah. My fingers are praying, like I'm praying for all the LA theater.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Make it through all this. And then you were also in Mamma Mia.
Yes, yeah, I was.
So what was that experience like? Because that's also an iconic show.
Yeah, it was fun. I joined the Vegas company in 2016. Oh no, geez. No, 2014. Close. And then I was a swing for that company. Which was super fun and super challenging because ABBA had it written in the contract that if their music was to be done into a musical, all the background vocals had to be sung live. So in every production of Mamma Mia, all the background vocals have to be sung live by the ensemble off stage. Even if it's only like Donna singing a solo on stage by herself, there's 25 ensemble members all huddled together in different sections, singing different parts. Yeah, it's actually pretty because it kind of like unites the company. But as a swing, it's your job to, if for whatever track you're going on for the night, you have to sing that vocal part. Yeah. So I had to memorize 4 different vocal parts for I think 30 different songs.
It's insane being like a swing life. People don't realize.
Swing life. No, it's a lot of this. And it's a lot of shove with love. And it's a lot of just doing your best and not thinking twice about it, you know?
Yeah. And speaking of I can't even do it. I'm not going to try. But speaking of like being able to memorize different tracks, how did you manage that?
Yeah. Everyone, I've been a swing through I think 3 different productions, and through my experience, every swing has their own approach to how they swing, which I think is so valid because it's such a crazy job that, you know, everyone kind of needs their own tools and tricks to get by. But I just sit there with a video, my phone, and I just videotape during rehearsals over and over and over. And then I organize different files, and then I'll go home and I'll notate all of the notes to help me out. And then I make like a little book. So it's a full process. It's like a full process, but
like homework.
It is. It's 100% homework, which is an exciting aspect because as a performer, you get to kind of utilize the other side of your brain, you know, the side of your brain that is not artistic, that's organized and structured, and, you know, the stage manager kind of side of your brain. So I think it's cool that swinging gets that opportunity, you know?
Yeah, and it's like, it's a little challenge.
Exactly.
Nice.
Which is why I like it, because, you know, it keeps you on your toes, and especially if you're a swing that covers principals, then, you know, you get the opportunity to play different characters and to be different people, which I love.
And I can't not ask you this because the songs in Mamma Mia are so iconic. What's your favorite?
My favorite, cheese. And it's so hard because there's so many that I love.
And what's your favorite in West Side Story?
I'm gonna say the Flipper song. Don't go wasting your emotions.
Yes.
Lay all your love.
Yes.
Lay all your love on me. That was a fun song.
They're all so good. They're like, it's like one of the few, the music is one of the few I can listen to over and over and over again. You know?
Fun fact, I think they're from Sweden. ABBA is from Sweden. They are the second largest income for the country.
I believe it.
I believe it. I mean, they're just everywhere.
Yeah, I totally believe it because, like, I mean, hey, I think they're trying to make a third movie, and they're out of songs.
Of course.
So,
and it's just gonna be Cher with a one-woman show singing ABBA.
From what I've heard, they're like out of songs, so it's like they're
really?
New songs.
Oh wow!
For the movie.
Well, I'm ready for it.
I'm ready for it too. I think I mean, I know there's people who are like, I should have stopped at the first one, but like,
why not? It's fun.
I'm at let's make a third and a fourth and a fifth.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And then I'm gonna get into For the Record, but before I do, you went on a couple tours. What was touring like for you?
Touring was so fun. It was so fun. It was such a dream, you know, to travel. I mostly did the US. I traveled to Canada, Mexico, and Japan as well.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so surreal and so cool to like be able to travel specifically America and get to like stop in every state and discover like how diverse our country is. It seriously could be split into like different countries. It's so different. But yeah, it was an awesome experience. And I made it a point in every city to explore and to kind of like, you know, get to know the town and eat at the local restaurants and do all that fun, live my like Travel Channel fantasy.
How did you learn how to manage like performing, like balance performing and getting to explore?
Right. You know, always, I kind of just like set like windows of time for myself. I'm like, okay, from here to here, you have this amount of time to do whatever. And then making sure that like, okay, I give myself an hour of travel to get back to the theater. And then I give myself an hour to get ready for the show. Just like giving myself those bumpers and then being like, okay, everything else is a free for all. Let's, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Favorite place that you went?
I mean, Japan. Hello.
You go to Tokyo Disney?
I didn't get a chance to. I know, I was so bummed because we only had one day off. So we didn't get a lot of, we couldn't travel for far distances, but I did get a chance to hike Mount Fuji, which was amazing.
Ooh.
Yes, and got to like travel to temples, and we stayed in Shibuya Station, which was like it's like the Times Square of Tokyo, and just getting to know the culture, and it was just a brilliant experience.
And I'm sure audiences are different there too versus like US and Canada.
Yeah, it's so funny because they're so opposite of Western culture, where they respect theater so much. Like we were fortunate. We opened the Theater Orb, which is one of the biggest theaters in Shibuya Station.
Wow.
It was beautiful, and because we were the first company to open it, they wanted West Side Story, and they took our whole company to a temple, and they had a huge ceremony where all the performers walked down the center, and they blessed us with incense and everything. And then they took us to the stage, and they did a ceremony on the stage where they blessed the stage, and we like sat in silence. And it was such a moving experience because they have so much respect for the theater and for the art, and like it was religious, it was a spiritual experience, and sacred. And even the audiences, during the shows were completely quiet, so quiet, didn't like respond, or very quiet, like applauses at the end. And then at the curtain call, we had to add 2 more curtain calls because they wouldn't stop applauding. It was like 20-minute long applauses. It was like curtain down, curtain up. It was like a cartoon. I was like, is this real? I was like, I thought this only happened in cartoons where it just keeps going down. But the standing ovation, and it was funny because they weren't like, woo, like woohooing. It was just respectful for a long time. And we would have people that would come repeatedly and bring gifts to us after, and it was so humbling as a performer to be treated like that, and gave me a new respect for what we do as artists in theater, and watching how other cultures respect theater. I'm like, this is how America should do it,
Yeah. I've heard a lot about differences between American theater audiences and different countries' theater audiences.
Yeah.
Western audiences are a little more respectful sometimes. And
yeah, and you know what it is? It's one of my friends she's Irish. She said, you know what it is? She said, she's like, we were brought up in school going to field trips to plays. Like she's like, I remember in like 5th grade going to a Shakespeare play, like, all the time. She's like, it was just part of our culture. She goes, that's where I feel like you instill, an appreciation for it is at that age. So, that's why it's important for us to do that with kids in schools,
And then with like American theater, it's like when like people from here know like the extent they can go when they applaud and when they in an audience, because like they've gone to multiple shows where they've seen other people doing,
and like how to dress, and etiquette and when to applaud. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I'm gonna get into For the Record now. When did you first learn about For the Record? Because you did For the Record Bratpack, and that's when I first saw you on stage.
Yeah.
In a show.
Yeah, and then I learned it For the Record when I was doing theater. Oh, actually, I learned about it when I saw one of my friends, Ruby Lewis, post a video of her doing Baz here. And I had done We Will Rock You with Ruby. And I saw her doing it. And then I was like, what is this song she's singing? I was like, what is this show? And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this show? And then I was like on a YouTube rampage, just like Googling. Right. I'm like, who is this company? I'm like, this is cool. What a cool concept. What a cool idea. And then I knew a lot of the performers who had done their shows, and I was like, oh, this is for like the cool kids, I feel like. And then I was still living in New York, and I auditioned for Baz, which the production they did in Las Vegas, and I booked it. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Now I get a chance to be a part of it. And I think what For the Record does is such like a cool way to like bring theater into like a modern, edgy, like world. You know what I mean? It's a great way to introduce people who aren't theater people to theater. So all their projects, I'm like a fangirl of, you know.
Same.
Even if I am in them, you know, I think they're just so cool, and they just do awesome productions. So
they're genius.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't get to see Baz in Vegas, but what was the experience like doing it in Vegas? Like, how is it different from your experience doing Bratpack in LA?
Yeah, well, it was different because the space allowed our version of Baz to be this huge Broadway production, which For the Record doesn't usually do. That's not like their motif. They're very like raw, edgy, like like just a spotlight and a guitar and like a rock voice. You know what I mean? But we had the opportunity to have like huge like video displays, like screens in the back, and this huge theater, and it was an awesome opportunity. Anderson Davis, our director, said, he's like, we never had this opportunity, and the Palazzo Vegas gave them this huge platform, and we're like, okay, how do you want to design the stage? So that we had the opportunity to redesign the whole theater and the stage, and it was cool because also our cast was this eclectic group of performers. You know, we had people like me who had been from the Broadway world or musical theater world, and then you had people like the ballroom couple who Brittany Cherry and Nick Garcia were from So You Think You Can Dance, and from Dancing with the Stars. Brittany Cherry's on Dancing with the Stars. So you had that like LA like dance kind of edge to it. And then you also had people who were just straight up singers, like vocalists, recording artists in the show. So all of us as performers were like, like Tamara Joy was our Juliet. She was on The Voice. You know what I mean? Like,
people from all over.
Yeah, so that was a cool experience for us as performers to kind of like, you know, intertwine and, you know, create this like weird production that was fun and entertaining and and also innovative for the record.
And it brings a large group of audience members to see it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because everyone everyone is familiar with the movies. So Baz highlights Baz Luhrmann's famous movies, which are Romeo and Juliet, The Great Gatsby, and Moulin Rouge. And so those movies are iconic, and the soundtracks are iconic, like Fergie, A Little Party Never Killed Nobody.
God, Moulin Rouge is my favorite ever.
Moulin Rouge. I mean, come on, like, so that was an awesome show. Yeah.
And I feel like FTR kind of got some extra attention from the East Coast during the time they were in Vegas, strangely enough. Like, I feel like people on the East Coast kind of discovered what FTR was through people's YouTube videos from it.
Yeah. I mean, it's smart because, you know, people, I believe Zidler in the beginning, he's like, please post videos, you know, and that's always been something that like For the Record brags about, is that like you can record, you know, our performers and they'll sound great every single show, you know what I mean? And it's a great way to advertise too.
Yes. And people are like, wait, I'm confused. Why are there videos online?
Right.
It's like, because like they're encouraged most of the time at these shows.
Yeah. And also we just want to, you know, it's a way to get our work out there and for people to be like, oh, I want to see this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So then speaking of the difference between Baz and Bratpack in LA, what was it like being part of Bratpack that was like at a smaller venue versus the large Broadway scale theater?
Right. Yeah. Good question. It's a complete, it's such a shift in energy, almost like similar to like going from theater to from stage to screen. You know what I mean? And things that even like shifting our choreography, because I did the Bratpack on the cruise ship before, which was the cruise ship production was a giant theater. So we had so much choreography because, you know, in a big theater, you need to fill the space. And if you're just standing there singing a song, people tune out, you know?
Like, what?
But then, yeah, they're like, okay, I'm a little bored. But, you know, transitioning into BreakRoom 86, that's this intimate bar, and we're popping up like in the middle of crowds of people. It was a challenge, like taking stuff away. You know what I mean? We were like in rehearsals and trying stuff, and we're like, I think we need to take this away, take this away, take this away, take this away. And we were taking stuff away, and we're like, is this still okay? We're like, yeah. And we were just discovering that less is more. And it's cool because, you know, you have the opportunity to, you know, perform very intimately in front of audience members, which there's no hiding. So you got to be connected to the material. So it was a good experience.
It's I feel like even more different every night when you're like that close to audience members and like that interactive with the audience members. Yeah,
exactly.
When you bring them into the show, it like kind of as like their own character more.
And also like it's also, I don't know how the audience is going to react either. You know, sometimes when I interact with them, they hate it and they're super turned off, and I'm like, okay, sorry. Other times they enjoy it and then you go with it. But like, that's the fun part about live theater.
And I'm going to talk about, you mentioned I'm going to say moving from stage acting to screen acting. I'm going to talk about that in a sec. But it's really cool that you've gotten to cross off so much, like from Broadway to touring to being on a cruise.
Yeah.
And to performing in Vegas, LA over the past, 10 years alone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, is that just mind-blowing sometimes to think about?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is crazy. The crazy part for me is how many places I've lived. I'm like the modern day gypsy, I feel like. Just like yeah, but it's not crazy because like if you just want it to happen and make it happen, it'll happen. You know what I mean? I feel like it's so easily attainable, and all those opportunities, you know, they just happen when I'm not thinking about it, and they just happen. And you kind of just have to have that spirit of, okay, yes, and let's go, let's do it, let's try.
Yes. So, I love that.
Yeah. So I mean, at first when I started, it wasn't as easy. You know, like when I started performing and I was having to constantly travel and constantly be away from family and friends, it is a lot. And I'm finding the more I do it, the less I want to be away from my family and friends, you know?
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend, like, when you're first starting off in your career, to travel, take a tour, go on a cruise ship, go travel, and then, because eventually you're going to want to sit in one spot for a while.
But it's nice to meet people along the way and like know people from different places in the world.
Yes, and learn culture and learn people and get to know like places, and that is something that is so invaluable.
Yes.
So valuable.
Yes, very much so. I can imagine.
Yes.
It opens your mind as a performer and like as a person in general.
As a human, yeah. Exactly.
You're learning things about the world.
Exactly.
And then you were part of this little show on NBC that got like really good ratings last year, or this past year, that I feel like kind of helped people get through the beginning of this crazy year, to be honest, because it came along at a great time.
Oh yeah, I know.
So what was your experience like auditioning for Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?
It was crazy. It was really fast, as I feel like all auditions are. You know, you kind of don't get a chance to think about it. You just kind of do it because you're worried about the other 2 or 3 that you have to put on tape. But yeah, it was super fun. I got the breakdown and I was like, okay, this is something that I can for sure do. They made, I think I had to prepare a side and I had to prepare a song in Spanish that I sang a cappella.
Wow. Including no pressure.
No pressure. And then they had me dance for about a minute and a half to music that I played from my speaker on my phone. So
you're like, I have everything set.
I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna basically walk into this room, and by room, that's a loose term. It was like probably 10 by 10 feet, like cubicle.
Little text.
And I'm gonna do a 1 minute, 1 man show. Like sing, dance, act. Like what do you got? Spanish, all the above. But yeah, so I did it, and they liked me, and they said, okay, you start filming in 2 days. So
not even kidding when you said it was quick.
Yeah, it's like that. So I had to get everything together and fly out to Vancouver.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very quick turnover when you audition. When you go from auditioning to booking, it's like, okay, great, you booked it. Now you're doing it tomorrow.
Great.
Right.
Let me just
right.
pack.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, it was fun. It was a super fun experience.
More of the one man show.
Sorry, say that again?
They wanted more of the one man show.
They did, apparently, yeah. They bought another ticket.
And was it a coincidence that you and Michael got cast in the same show? Really?
Total coincidence.
Did you know that he was in it before you auditioned?
Yeah, I had known because Michael and I did the cruise ship together that was almost a year. And then after the cruise ship finished, then we did BreakRoom 86 together for about 6 months. And then he booked Zoes, and I was still doing BreakRoom or Bratpack. And then I booked Zoes, and I'm like, we gotta stop running into each other like this. Find your own show.
I mean, you two in the same show, though. That's a lot of talent in one. That's a lot of talent in one show, vocally.
Yeah, no, and it's fun because I feel like we complement each other. You know, he's tall, I'm like short and stout. He's like tall and white, I'm short and brown. He can sing really high, I can sing really low. Like, we complement each other, you know, so it's fun. I love him. He's a great guy and a good person.
And then most of your scenes in Zoe's were with Alex. So what was your experience like working?
He is amazing. He is a diva to the max. But
and you such together some stuff.
Sorry, say that again?
You got to sing together.
I know, we did. We unfortunately we didn't actually get to record together. We recorded separately, which I'm bummed about because I really wanted him to just skrelt in my face. As we all do, because his vocal cords are just insane. But I got to sing Bailamos with him. I got to record mine and he recorded his later. And when I heard his vocals during the read-through, I was like, what? I was like, I'm gonna slap you for singing those high notes. And I was like, that is just ridiculous. Yeah, but he was absolutely so much fun to work with and such a light, fun person on set.
You're like, excuse me, can you stop singing those high notes?
Yeah, I know.
Complimented each other really well.
Yeah, no, he was great person to work with.
What's the biggest difference working as a TV actor versus working as a stage actor, do you think?
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like they're they're so similar where your work is exactly the same, but then they're so opposite. They're so different. The whole process is just opposite. I feel like the process with film is so fast and quick. You know, the writing changes moment to moment. You know, choices change moment to moment. There's little to zero rehearsal. It's, you just got to get it in, get the shot, and get it done, you know? And then theater, you spend 3 to 4 weeks just rehearsing the show before anyone sees it. You know what I mean? So you spend time, you know, making choices and then taking them back and adjusting and fixing things. And so it's just yeah, it's a different entity, it's a different beast, it's a different art form. You know, one is very fast paced, the other is very careful and specific. So yeah, it's fun.
Both
Switch it up.
have their own pros
For
them.
sure, because there's beautiful subtleties that you can achieve as an actor in film that you can't in theater, you know, or for example, there's things that you can do in theater that you can't do in film, like with music or with your voice, or, you know, each has their own things that like are exciting for me about storytelling.
Yeah.
You
change things up in theater, and then in TV film, it's more like you're coming up with one thing, you have to make a choice.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
About what you're doing in a scene, and stick to the choice, because it's like gonna be seen one time.
Yes, yeah. And also the also frustrating part I learned with film is that you don't get to pick what take they use, so you got to make sure that you're making good choices all the time.
Yeah, I can see this, how that would be frustrating.
Yeah, and also energy-wise, like with TV and film, you spend like an hour like of extreme focus of doing like a number 80 times, of just doing it over and over and over, but being like laser point focused to make sure you nail it. Whereas theater, you have the liberty of being relaxed and, oh, if I mess up, it's okay, we get to redo it.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah.
So yeah, it's fun finding the differences and the similarities.
So what's on your current entertainment bucket list? Because you've done so much as of now.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think I'm at the point where I want to like create and innovate. I want to create characters, and I want to create stories and storylines of characters, of people who are real and relatable to like stories that are real life right now, you know, of things that are happening right now. So yeah, creating characters and storytelling of characters that are LGBTQ, of their stories, and, you know, people of color and stuff like that. I feel like that's what I want to do next, you know, is create and make, instead of just retelling stories that have already been done before.
Yeah, originate something.
Yes, exactly.
It'll happen. Unless you're originating something on Broadway one day.
Yes.
I cannot wait till that day.
Yeah, of course.
And then, if you could turn any movie or TV show into a musical, what would it be?
Oh, if I could turn any movie or TV show. Movie or TV show. Oh, geez. What would that be? You know, for the longest time, I wanted Mrs. Doubtfire, and they did that.
Yeah.
I know. And I didn't get a chance to see it, though, which I'm so bummed about. I know. But I'm trying to think of what else would be a good musical.
I feel like Miss Doubtfire is like, has to be really good.
Yes, of course. Yeah, because I'm a huge fan of movie composers, and I think Howard Shore composed that. So there's already like musical aspects in the movie. So I'm like, all right, it's already there. So,
and the cast is good. So
cast is amazing.
What I've heard, the cast is incredible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I can't think. I can't think of anything right now that would be a good musical.
What's your favorite movie? Let's go with this. That's not a musical.
What's my favorite movie? Oh, my favorite movie. Well, my favorite movie is a musical. It's The Birdcage. So,
So it's already a musical.
so that's a problem. Yeah, La Caja Falls. But ironically, that is one of the only movies that started as a musical. So
Really?
La Caja Falls was the original, and then they turned it into a movie without any musical numbers, which is never done. It's like the reverse of what's usually done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like the only movie I can think of where that's been done lately is Mulan, is the new Mulan.
Oh yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that, but it's the same format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like they take the music out of it.
And make it just a straight, which I think is a fun way to like switch it up with converting movies to musicals and vice versa.
Yes, it's an idea. I love music, but like
it's fun.
I love musical movies.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So,
What's your favorite movie musical?
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Moulin Rouge.
I mean, that set the bar for a lot of movie musicals. It's kind of like a standard.
Yes.
Mm.
And then, kind of winding down, if you could work with any actor or actress on Broadway, who would it be?
If I could work with any actor,
Another hard question.
I know, because there's so many of them. You know who it would be? You know who? I mean, I would want to work with like obviously all like the divas, but I don't know, something about Julia Murney. I really want to work with her. I feel like she's such a good like whimsical actress, and I feel like her choices as an actress are just fascinating and just amazing. And I would love to do some scene work where I could just play off of her and like feed her stuff too. I feel like that would be fun.
Yeah. What a powerhouse voice she has.
Yeah, my favorite is she did the Actors Fund benefit of Chess, and she just kills it. Her vocals are insane with her like release vibrato that's so natural and powerful. I'm like, she's just this alien in her own world of I don't know what it is.
those like former Elphas, I'm telling you.
Dude, they've got it. They're
insane.
Yeah, man.
And current Elphas, like Lindsay.
I know, who's another FTR alumni.
Right?
She's amazing.
I'm so happy for her.
I know, it's so incredible. It's so unfortunate that she booked Alphaba at this time, but I'm like, it'll happen. Like
she'll get back to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't wait to see her in that role.
And imagine when she's back in that role after this whole break and her first, like the vocals are.
Oh yeah. All that vocal rest, she'll be ready to belt.
I have to be there.
Yes.
Speaking of when all this craziness ends, what's the first thing you're going to do once quarantine ends?
Oh my goodness. Just sit on a stage and sing. I feel like that's what, find the nearest stage. Hey Siri, can you find the nearest stage near me?
Yes. Siri's like,
right. No, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the thing I'm craving the most is just missing being in front of an audience, and that energy that you get in front of an audience, you don't get that from anything else in the world, you know? So I feel like that's what I'm truly craving in quarantine.
How do you think live theater is going to be different when it's able to come back and being in front of an audience? How do you think that's going to be different?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, there's going to be so many modifications, you know, with patrons, and then obviously in backstage, how the backstage area is run, even with, you know, dressers, with stage management, with crew, with cast, you know, that's gonna have to all be coordinated and stuff like that, you know. I think it's just gonna make us a lot more respectful of what we do and respectful of each other, and be a lot more careful and precise, which I think, you know, is a good thing. And just a lot more grateful, grateful for theater and grateful for what we do. I think, yeah, it's the silver lining in this situation.
People are gonna appreciate it so much more.
Exactly. And appreciate social interactions and social gatherings and music and, you know, all these things that we were for sure taking for granted, you know. And when you take it away, you know, you realize, oh shoot, this does a lot for my mind, for my mentality, my well-being. So yeah,
People are never gonna cancel plans ever again.
right. I know. FOMO is going to be in full effect.
Do you think virtual theater is going to stick around? Because it's like something cool that's really been like come out of all this.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like a trend, and it's because it's all we've been able to do. It shows the resilience of artists and how adaptable we are. I think it can have possibility and opportunity. I've done a couple Zoom productions and readings, and it was hard navigating like how to do scene work like with someone on the other side of the country, and, you know, trying to create like dialogue that sounds natural, but also technically you're not overstepping with the sound delay. And then how do we record audio like a duet? You know, we have to record separately and then send it to, so there's a lot of those technical aspects that I was very proud of our artist community of like tackling and overcoming and navigating. And like, you know, now people are starting to do drive-in concerts. I have so many friends in LA and San Diego and New York who they're doing the music of Motown or the music of Frankie Valli, or they'll do the musical Phantom of the Opera, show it, and everyone drives in, and then they have live singers, you know? So like, that's so cool. It's so badass for like our community to be innovative and thinking of ways, you know, and people are responding, you know, and receptive, and it's great, and they're loving it. And the energy, I've been to a couple of the drive-in concerts, and the energy is so positive, and people come in and they tailgate like in their trucks, and they'll have like coolers and like jam out, and it's fun. It's super fun to see our world moving on and not like succumbing to, you know,
it's
negativity.
The yes and you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's applicable to life, not only theater.
Yes. So then, speaking of the yes and again, what have you been doing in like during this period? Do you have anything to promote? Anything like fun theater related or not theater related you've been doing?
Yeah. Well, I learned how to cut hair. So I've been cutting my own hair, cutting other people's hair, which has been amazing. I'm not certified official. I'm an official, unofficial barber. I got my CPR certification. I'm working on becoming a personal trainer certification. Yeah, I'm just like exploring different ways of how I can apply myself to life. So yeah.
All these things that you wouldn't have had the time maybe to do if we weren't on a little like pause.
Hiatus, exactly. So it's been a fun experience being in quarantine.
Yeah, it's so nice. Yeah. And I'm sure you want to get back on the stage and sing, and we want. And
for sure.
I mean, I want to see you back on stage singing. So.
For sure, yeah. I just recently finished a project of a new musical. It's called Au l'amour, which means in French, the love, or Au love. And it's the music of Erasure, which is a 80s pop group that had a bunch of #1 hits in the 80s. Yeah, and I got to record, they're doing a cast album of all the music. So I just finished that last week. which was super fun to be singing and recording again and creating, even though we were all socially distanced. Yeah. It was weird. It was so weird because like we were like texting and like Zoom meeting. I'm like, hi, like I wish I could hug you. It's weird. Yeah. Like I finished a cast album with you, but I've never touched you or met you in person. But yeah, exactly. But it was fun to be in the recording studio and working. So stuff will happen. Just waiting patiently and staying persistent, staying ready.
So do you know when that cast album is gonna drop, or?
Not sure yet. We literally just finished it. It was originally going to be a Zoom virtual production reading of the play and musical, but it was going to be too much, so we just ended up making it a cast album. So yeah, we just finished it, and now they're editing, and we'll see what happens with it.
Okay. Well, to find out when that's going to drop and to follow you and what you're doing, where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, you can check out my Facebook or Instagram. My Facebook is Patrick Ortiz, and my Instagram is patrick.m.ortiz. And I'll post all my projects or whatever I'm working on, or covers, or just me being dorky.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for talking to me on this today.
So nice talking to you, Becca. I'm so glad you're doing this. This is such a fun thing you're doing. So glad you're doing this.
It's been a blast. Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!